Madeline Van John here for the applicant. So basically, I think at the end of the last hearing, there were some concerns about variances for the garage itself. So we did agree to remove any request for variances for the actual garage structure, so it will comply with side and rear yard setbacks. The only variance we were still requesting was to keep the pool equipment inside the garage instead of out in the yard. And there were 2 letters submitted to the file, one from the project architect and one from an engineer regarding the how the garage will basically buffer the sound better than having the equipment in the yard. So I can answer any questions if anyone has them.
So you had the engineer report?
Yes.
It was submitted.
Okay.
There was talk about whether this is a 10-foot variance or a 20-foot variance. Which is it?
For the,
A 20-foot variance because of the fact that the equipment was in the garage.
so the equipment is supposed to be at 20 feet. It's going to be in the garage, which is 10 feet away. So that would be a 10-foot variance for the pool equipment.
Yeah.
It's only from the rear yard, correct? The pool equipment meets the side yard setback? I think that was the confusion, maybe?
Oh, okay.
I think it's
May-
just, yeah, so there's only one variance for the pool equipment, and that's from the rear yard.
And the neighbors have seen the engineering report?
That I'm not sure. We submitted it to the village file. I'm not sure if anyone has seen it or has any questions.
We have other pool equipments in garages without having.
No, but apparently that was a big issue of the
Yeah,
neighbors.
no, I know.
Yeah, we got an engineer's opinion just to have something official, rather than just everyone thinking whether or not it was quieter.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Okay. Could you please identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Joe Kovler, and I live at 50 Church Street, and our house runs along the property, the full property line of behind this house. I believe that they're asking for a variance from the side and the back to allow for this 10-foot, so you should get that clarified. But before I talk about the situation, I'd like to first
There's
clarify.
no variance, it's only the pool equipment, isn't it?
It's the pool
Pool
equipment.
equipment, which is because pool equipment has a bigger setback.
Has 20 feet from any property
Instead of-
line.
Their setback is 10, but pool equipment is 20. So
You
that-
Okay.
said you believe it still needs a side yard. Can
Fine.
you just state what your belief is based on?
My understanding is that the garage is going to be 10 feet from the side and 10 feet from the back. And the requirement is that the pool equipment be 20 feet from the side and 20 feet from the back. So it's about the pool equipment.
So you don't think it's relevant where the pool equipment is located within the garage?
In the garage, no.
Anywhere in the garage, you think means it requires a variance?
It does, because it has to be 20 feet from the side and 20 feet from the back.
Well, the garage doesn't, the pool equipment.
Pool
does.
equipment does, so I'm talking about the pool equipment.
Well, even if the pool equipment is 20 feet away inside the garage, you think it requires?
I don't think that's going to be the case.
Well, maybe, do you know where the pool equipment will be in the garage?
Well, it's shown in the.
shown in the rear.
Shown in the plans.
Let me make my statement, and then you folks can sort that through, okay?
Well,
If that's all right? No? Yes? No?
sure.
All right. First, I want to clarify for the record that the total lack of effort of the property owner and their attorney to reach out to us, as you requested at the April meeting. In fact, although the attorney represented at the last meeting that he had repeatedly attempted to contact us, his assertion was not true. Other than a very contentious conversation with the attorney in the first floor hallway after the last meeting, there has been no communication with us at all. Second, I want to reiterate my opposition to the variance request. There is no compelling reason to allow this site to be out of compliance with all village setback requirements. The owners had a blank slate and could have built a fully conforming project, including a garage/pool house. The request to create a pool house and/or put pool equipment in a garage less than 20 feet, less than a 20-foot setback requirement is an attempt to overbuild on the lot. The code is clear, and in this case, it requires a structure with pool equipment to be 20 feet from property lines. Any variation from the code is a self-serving effort by the owner to ignore the village requirements. The presentation of a forced choice of whether it is more desirable to put the equipment in a garage 10 feet from the property lines or unenclosed and noisy 20 feet from the property line is misleading and a specious statement, since the code requires pool equipment to be in an enclosed structure, no matter where it's placed on the property. The other option, which was not pursued by the applicant, was to develop a site plan that respected the code and put a pool house or accessory building with pool equipment 20 feet from the property lines. This third choice would have been required by this board if the owner didn't first partially construct the house and then arrogantly, after the fact, ask you for the variance, and then assume that you would rubber stamp the request. I say again, this is a self-inflicted problem. Please send the same message that you sent for the variance request for 37 Church Street last year, that contractors and homeowners can't demolish homes in this neighborhood, build new homes that greatly increase the square footage, add a swimming pool, and then impose on neighbors by circumventing codes pertaining to setbacks and pool equipment. Don't allow them to develop properties to the max, and then after the fact, come and ask for additional space, particularly when they are working with a blank canvas. Please deny this request for a variance.
Okay.
May I ask a question? Okay, may I ask a question, Madeline?
Yeah.
Why do you say that no side yard variance will be required for the pool equipment?
I actually didn't say that. I think someone else said that.
Oh,
That was my understanding based on
oh, okay.
testimony at
That-
the hearing.
I'm confused on that.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I said that.
I actually thought that it was. I thought that in the past that the building inspectors had said that you needed a variance if it was located anywhere if the building itself was located anywhere within the setback, they wanted you to get the variance, but that may have changed.
So it requires, you agree, a side yard and a rear yard variance?
Pool
for the
equipment,
pool
yes, but no
Okay,
variances for the
okay.
garage itself, yeah.
Okay,
It was
I
my
think,
misunderstanding that, I thought the position was that if it was the pool equipment itself, we measured a setback to.
I think the neighbor has a point, and you could do it. The only issue is if you make it, I don't know if you can get a car in there, and then the question, are they gonna put a car or just put equipment? But I think he has a very good point.
So,
I'd be in agreement not to grant the variance.
Can I just address a couple things first that the neighbor brought up? So first of all, I mean, so the house and the pool are 100% compliant with codes. We haven't asked for any variances. There's no coverage variances, anything like that. I know it can be a little disturbing when someone just, when a new house is built next to you, but the fact is that all of that does comply with codes. And the garage is now proposed to be fully compliant with setbacks. And there was some mention of a pool house. We're not proposing any pool house. The garage isn't proposed to have any sort of pool house component to it. And this board has, even within the last few months, granted variances on other properties to have pool equipment in the garage where it's enclosed. And we believe that's the best way. The neighbor's property extends along the back. If the pool equipment was put, even if it was in an enclosure outside, I don't see how it couldn't have more impact on his property if it was further, it would be further towards the pool rather than in the garage.
yeah, even since pool equipment has to be enclosed, but it's not.
Not enclosed over
on
the top.
It's just enclosed around the sides.
Are you going to have a coverage issue, too, if the pool equipment goes outside in an enclosure?
We haven't looked at that. I think that, obviously, if there was an issue, we'd have to come back, but I think the idea would be just to either put it over existing patio or to switch some things around.
Well, here on the survey, it says with the pool equipment garage, the coverage is 2166 versus allowable 2190. So you have 24
24.
feet. And the other thing is it could be put in the garage and put 20 feet back.
Well, no,
No, they're saying that it's the building
looks like,
area.
Yeah, it
Where the
looks-
building is, rather than where the equipment is positioned in the structure.
Well, No, but it could be in the garage and still be 20 feet back, I would think.
I'm not sure I can't tell that from the measurements that are here.
It's 8 feet from the side, 10 from here.
Well, no, it has to be, the garage has to be 10 feet, right? So we said there's no variance, so the question is, if the garage is 10 feet wide or a little more, and they have room outside to put it anyway.
I personally don't see the detriment of the pool equipment being inside. I think that the 20-foot setback might have been created for outside pool equipment, but this is inside pool equipment, and we've given this variance before, and I think it's benign, I really do, and it's inside. We've got the letters from the engineer saying it's gonna be quieter. I really don't see the detriment. I mean, again, you have to balance this, and I don't see any detriment at all with putting this pool equipment inside the garage.
We have somebody else who'd like to
Clarify one
speak.
thing. I think the code says that you can put equipment in any accessory building, as long as the accessory building, in this case, the garage, is complies with the 20-foot setback. That's the code.
No, I don't. I
That's
don't
not what
think
the
it-
code says?
Not in exactly those words, no.
Well, what does it say?
It says that pool equipment shall meet a double the accessory setback. That's what the code says.
Right,
Yeah.
20
and then
feet.
So the pool equipment, not the enclosure, the pool equipment has to meet double accessory setback.
Whether it's in a garage or not.
Yeah, it doesn't state where.
I can't tell
and
from the
when.
plans, frankly, exactly how many feet away the pool equipment is proposed to be from the side yard.
Well,
Which I believe is why
in
there was
the
the rule
plans
that
here,
it's
it
about
does
4 feet.
say that it's almost just a little more than 10 feet, because it's on the edge of the garage toward the back border, so it's not 20 feet.
Well, that's the rear lot, but there's no question about the rear yard line. The question is about the side.
Yeah, I mean, and the side, it probably, you can't tell, you're right, but depends how wide the garage is, and it does take room in the garage, but
But listen,
The garage is 12 feet, 10 inches.
but if you can't see it and you can't hear it, I mean, there's no detriment.
Wait, yes, would you like to
Thanks
speak?
a lot. Thank you. Hi, my name is Joanne Cosentino, and if you're in the street and you're facing the houses, our house, 69 Dayton Lane, is directly to the left of this house. Now, initially, after this meeting, we spoke with Mr. Talbert outside, and he said he would contact me and tell me exactly what was going on. And I didn't get an email from him, I didn't get a call from him, I didn't get anything from him, and that was a promise that he had, well, he said he was going to call me. So I kind of thought this was all settled, and they decided not to do it. But let me just read my statements, so I'll get it all out of me. The board had suggested that Mr. Talbot contact us before this meeting to follow up on the issue of pool equipment in the garage. We were not contacted. And so it remains that the answer to the question as to whether it is advisable to have the pool equipment stored in the garage is not clear-cut and is debatable, as we see from our discussion here. However, what is clear-cut is that if the equipment is placed in the garage, it will be closer to our home, and it is not in compliance with village regulations. There's no reason why the pool equipment cannot be placed in a different area on the property. There is room for it. In all, I would like to restate my position that this is new construction, and with a clear slate on which to build, no variances at all should be necessary.
Okay. do you-
Here's a point. There's two things you can look at here. It goes in the garage where it's completely enclosed, or they make it the 20 feet, where just the sides are enclosed. So they may hear the noise
But it's
coming
their
from
choice.
20 feet. Right.
Well, it's not their choice. I mean, it's up to the board. I mean, one of the things that bothers me here is, it's not, you have to weigh the benefit to the applicant versus, you're right, the detriment to the community, but it isn't a question of whether or not the applicant's attorney reached out to
I know, no, it's not,
Neighbors
it's
or
not a
not.
neighbor
It's-
squabble
Yeah.
problem here.
Yeah, and if I could just say, I think that especially with their engineer's letters, I mean, the board has granted these variances in the past without any proof whatsoever, other than someone simply saying it'll be quieter in the garage, and it's never been any issue. I know there was one just up the street on Talmadge Farm Lane, that was, Talmadge Lane, that was granted recently. That was part of a rebuild. I think that, sure, if you're coming in on new construction, asking for a variance to max out your house or something, that's a little questionable. But regardless of when this house was built, I still think it's reasonable to ask to help everyone to make the pool equipment quieter and invisible by keeping it in the garage, whether it's new construction, old construction, anything like that. It's only going to improve the view of the property to the neighbors and the sound for everyone. So I just don't see any detriment that has actually been identified.
I'm going to vote no.
Same.
I vote yes.
Well, you can't vote without a written determination in front of you. So, well,
My stance
it's
is
helpful
I-
to have the discussion. I don't mean to
Discussion,
stop the
yeah.
discussion.
If this had
What do you
been
think?
taken care of to begin with, and they had this all planned out, none of this squabble would have happened.
So I'm sorry, if, you
But
mean if we had
that's-
submitted it as the,
You know,
that, I'm not sure that that's if we had, I'm sorry, I can't speak to whether or not anyone was supposed to contact the neighbors, as I unfortunately became involved in this last night. But, I don't think that is really, if we had reached out to the neighbors, originally we wanted a variance for a garage, and in consideration to the neighbors, we've agreed to move it and not ask for any variance for the garage whatsoever. So I
They're
think
going to move the garage?
the garage isn't,
usually
it's not constructed yet, so we've moved it on the plans to comply with the setback.
so, actually, we don't like to grant variances for new construction when it's a level ground, and we didn't. We had you move the garage to a conforming location. The house seems big because it's big on the street and it's a shock to the eyes. But in the long run, I think the neighbors will probably be happier with a quieter pool equipment. So, we didn't let you put the air conditioners so that it would bother them, and we denied all those things. But in the long run, I think I have to agree with Chris and your engineer, that the neighbors will enjoy more quietude, once it's inside the garage.
I agree.
So, let's see, do I have
You don't, do
a,
I?
need more?
I don't know where the garage is going, so I don't know what the setback of the pool equipment is, actually. Do I? I mean, I don't think I know what this,
The garage is now in a conforming
In a
location.
conforming
Garage was
location.
proposed At the last meeting.
but where is the pool equipment gonna be? I don't know what the side yard setback is.
We can submit an updated survey that shows the exact setback and get an opinion, I guess, from the building inspector as to whether the variance would be from the
I
building.
think that would be helpful,
Okay, so
because
we'll leave this open?
I think it's problematic to grant or deny a variance that's not specific in terms of.
Right, certainly for you to write the determination.
Right, so I think that would be helpful, an adjournment to
Okay, yeah,
show us
absolutely.
exactly where it's going, where you're proposing.
Yeah, and also to get an answer as to whether we need a variance from the edge of the building or the exact location of the equipment, if
Okay.
that's.
All
Right.
right, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Only when?
June 14th.
So smooth.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the new hearings portion. First one is the application of Jeffrey L. Gates and R. Michael Moran, 33 and 37 Ocean Avenue. We are not the lead agency on this, but Pam, would you please read?
Application of Jeffrey L. Gates and Michael Moran, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-814-15 and 301-814-16 for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to shift the common boundary between two pre-existing non-conforming parcels. Variance variances are requested from section 278-3A1 to reduce the size of tax lot 15 by transferring 26,787 square feet of land area to tax lot 16, resulting in a lot containing 94,387 square feet of area, where 160,000 square feet is the minimum required by zoning. Tax lot 15 currently contains 121,265 square feet of area and is located at 33 Ocean Avenue. Tax lot 16 currently contains 64,454 square feet of area and is located at 37 Ocean Avenue. Both properties are situated in the R160 zoning district and the Ocean Avenue Historic District. Both properties front on Hook Pond. This project is classified as a Type 1 action in accordance with SEQA, and the Village Planning Board has assumed lead agency status.
And just for the record, the planning board, which is the lead agency, met yesterday and had offered no comment and no objection.
Yes, and also they adopted a negative declaration, you should know, so secra
Secra's-
is off the table.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
Yeah, hello again. Madeline Benjon here for the applicants. So basically, what they're trying to do here is to even out the lot area between these two lots, because both lots are currently non-conforming to current lot area requirements, and they still will be after it because there simply just isn't enough lot area. But we're just shifting some lot area from one to the other, so now both 33 Ocean and 37 Ocean will be about the same size. And currently 37 Ocean is not compliant to street frontage requirements, and after the lot line modification, it will be. So that will at least help in one instance. And then we're also proposing to revegetate 5,400 square feet of pre-existing lawn area down by Hook Pond. So that should provide an environmental benefit as part of this. So I can answer any questions if anyone has.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Anyone want to be heard in the audience?
No? All right.
Okay, thank you.
A motion to
Make a motion.
accept.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next new hearing is 1 Church Street, Nicholas Caracciolo. The applicant present?
Yes, Tom Osborne on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, sorry, Pam Bennett. Ms. Bennett will read the application.
And Nick is here, too.
Trying to rush through this.
Application of Nicholas
I always mess it up. It's one of my three choices.
Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-2637 for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to construct a porch and accessory improvements. A 315-square-foot variance is requested from Section 278-3A9 to permit 2,759 square feet of coverage, where 2,444 square feet is the maximum permitted coverage. Variances of 10.4 feet and 20.6 feet are requested to construct a roofed porch to be located 24.6 feet from a front yard lot line and 14.4 feet from a front yard lot line, where the required setbacks are 35 feet. 3 10.3-foot variances are requested to construct 2 AC condenser units and a pool equipment shed 24.7 feet from a front yard lot line, where the required setbacks are 35 feet. The subject property is a 9,720 square foot corner lot located at 1 Church Street with frontage on Gingerbread Lane and is in Residence District R40. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SEQA.
Okay. So there are three parts to this application: the porch, the pool equipment AC, and the coverage issue. Starting with the porch, the application included a photo of this house when it used to be located at number 1 Main Street, which is now the Eli Tahari building. It was moved at some point back to its present location and lost the porch. You can see the porch in the photo. And basically, my client would like to put it back to its historic appearance by adding the porch. Unfortunately, the setbacks in this particular area are pretty severe, and we can't put it in without variances. The porch itself, I think, is somewhat modest in width, and will, I think...
How wide is it, Tom?
Is it 8 feet? The porch?
8 feet.
8 feet. So, there's really nothing else we can do with that proposal. If you make it narrower, I'm not sure how useful a porch that's 6 or 7 feet wide would be. I also don't think it would be a detriment to the neighborhood. I think it would be a positive, actually.
It's always looked funny without the porch on the house.
It needs something.
Yeah, looks like it was chopped off.
It was. No.
Even though I agree they started with a blank slate, not such a blank slate, but they had the pool house in the back. Aesthetically, I'm in favor for it.
I don't have a problem with the porch. I mean, the property is pretty
Small,
small for
Small, yeah.
everything that you've put on it.
but the porch was probably ripped off because it was always a two-family house.
Might have been ripped
And
off when it was moved.
Really not a very nice two-family home, so I'm sure the porch was probably ripped off because it was rotted off.
Do you know when it was moved?
I'm not that old.
Must have been a long time ago, from one Main
Me
Street.
neither. Come on up. Come on.
Still morning. Good morning. I'm Nicholas Caragiulo. From my research, I bought the home about a year and a quarter ago. It was a Christian skank home, and it moved somewhere around 80 to 100 years ago to make room for what is now, I guess, the commercial Main Street district. When I bought the house, I actually bought a porch with a house connected to it, so my dream is to put this porch back. And as you see in the picture, it's a pretty prominent home within the neighborhood, so we would love to see it back to its original character. The house itself was constructed with this porch. We know that, A, from pictures, but B, just from the contours of the roof line and where everything kind of flows, where a porch would have been at one time. The original question was the porch itself, the width? What was the question?
8 feet.
Oh, 8 feet, 8 feet. And it's about 100 years ago it was moved within that time frame.
Yeah, I mean, you're across from Bridgehampton National Bank, which has also a running open portico.
I think it's a winner for the neighborhood, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, so,
I'm not so sure.
No?
I know, right. It does create a lot of connectivity between the Gingerbread District and, of course, Church Street Residential. And I think in this day and age where we're all so kind of tied to our phones and iPads, I see my family as sitting on this porch and really connecting with the community. So for us, that's a big win. We want to get out of the city, and we want to really connect back with the environment. So that is why we are requesting a porch, in addition to making this historic property once again.
yeah. Also, if you stand across the street and look down, a lot of the houses on Church Lane are closer to the road than your porch is even going to be, so it doesn't seem out of character to me.
I agree.
House looks lonely without a porch.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Your house looks lonely without a
It
porch.
sure does, it sure does.
So, and coverage?
Coverage, the variance requested for that is basically due to the patio. If you factor out, I guess you factor out the patio, you meet coverage.
If we were to negotiate the patio, and also we have other options for pool equipment and HVAC, not so much the HVAC, that would just go in a different setback zone, we would still consume that area. But for the pool equipment, we can relocate it within the pool house crawl space, so that would free up 50, 60 square feet.
So you're gonna, you would move the AC and the pool equipment to the other side of the pool?
The AC equipment, we can relocate behind the pool house, so we have 20 to 21 feet there now. We would just take up the 3 to 6 feet needed for 2 units.
Wait a minute, what do you need though? What's the setback if you move it back there, isn't it?
It would be 10 feet.
So it'd be,
For the
And we would
ACs.
locate it between 21 and 17 or 18. We would still be 18 feet off the property line.
okay.
But the pool equipment,
And
Do you
how-
need a
how would the
variance then
AC
for the pool equipment?
We would not. We would be within the 10-foot setback back
The pool
inside.
equipment is 20-foot.
I'm sorry, pool equipment would be
It's
in
20.
the pool house, and that's within the allowable
Okay.
setbacks.
And the air conditioning equipment would go where?
That would be right up against the pool house.
Wasn't it 20 feet also?
Yeah.
10 feet.
But it's
Okay, never
conforming.
mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, I understand.
See it? Okay.
Yep.
So does that masonry patio go all the way around the house?
So
On this
that
side?
masonry patio, at this point, goes between the house, the pool, and then the pool and the pool house. And we would reduce that patio, so everything between the house and the pool, we would create a walkway to go between the pool and the pool house, but everything to the right, between the cellar entry and just to the right of the pool, we would give that up. With
Okay, well,
gravel.
how many square feet would that reduce your,
We'd have to submit numbers
yeah,
to.
okay.
Yeah. We'd have to see it on a
A new,
plan.
s-
I think.
yeah, a
understand,
new
sure.
survey with the
Yes.
relocated air conditioning, et cetera.
And that's about it, I think.
Any comments here?
So in other words, the pool equipment, there'll be no variance. The AC, will there be any variance? Okay, so the only question now is how much the coverage reduced. All right, okay.
Right.
Right. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to be heard? No? All right, so a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Se- All in favor?
All right.
And then we didn't hear what Ray had to say about it. I guess
We have Kristen T. and Christopher W. Corwin, 25 Cooper Lane. Ms.
So
Bennett?
they have a parking, how they have to get 2 cars?
Tax map number 301-123. Chapter 278 zoning to legalize coverage. A 167 square foot variance is required from section 278-3A9 to legalize 3,267 square feet of coverage, where prior zoning board determination permitted 3,100 square feet of coverage. 2,951 square feet of coverage is the maximum permitted by zoning. The subject property is 12,257 square feet in lot area and is located at 25 Cooper Lane in Residence District R40. This project is classified as a type 2 action in accordance with secret.
Kristen, would you like to explain what happened?
Hello, Kristen Corwin, and I'm the homeowner at 25 Cooper Lane. And, you know, we had been here and done a careful renovation of our home. We lifted the house and didn't disturb the driveway or garage, and renovated our home. And upon the inspection to get our CO, was pointed out to us that we had gone over on coverage. We didn't anticipate that, and we, you know, were scratching our heads as to how that happened. The builder had increased the front stoop to be so that the doorway had been moved to the left a bit, and so this front stoop is slightly larger than it was previous. And then the landscaper made the front sidewalk to meet it a little bit larger. You know, it's a confluence of about 8 different reasons. We added a fireplace in our front living room that was supposed to be suspended over the ground, and the builder put cinder block foundation underneath that. So that added a bit to it, and the coping for all our window wells was not on the survey. So that added a bit to it, and then our back stoop is slightly larger than it was, so that added a bit to it. One more air conditioning compressor outside added a bit to it, and, you know, our outdoor shower was on the survey, and our side stoop is actually supposedly, according to my builder, smaller than was on the survey. Anyway, here we are, unfortunately, apologetically asking for another variance.
Is that it?
Yes. Actually, no, that's not it. On the positive, we were allowed for GFA variance to go up to 2955 in square footage.
And that was based on an erroneous existing square footage that we thought was 2,765, but it was in actuality, it was only 2,500. So our ending square footage GFA is 2,665, so we're under on GFA by about 300 square feet. So, you know, we are over on coverage, but
We
on,
asked for more, actually, when we looked at this application.
yeah.
Yeah, so okay.
I have no problem.
I wouldn't have to figure out what would have to go, so.
I know, it's really, if we could
It looks
remove
good.
something to, you know, comply, we would, but it's not really, in order to safely exit the house with steps.
Yeah, and also you're on the design review board, so.
Yeah. Yes,
the village.
so it makes it even more.
House looks good.
Yes.
Thank you very
Uh,
much.
Anyone in the audience?
Anyone in the audience? Do I have a motion to close this?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Okay, we have Daniel J. Palladino and Amy V. Sherman Palladino, 132 Main Street. Ms. Bennett?
Application of Daniel J. Palladino, Amy E. Sherman Palladino, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-9114, for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to make alterations to a property containing more than one single-family residence. Variances are requested from Section 278-7C2D2 to construct additions and make alterations to the residences on a property that contains multiple single-family residences. A 19.7-foot variance is requested from Section 278-385B to make alterations to a cottage located 0.3 feet from the side yard lot line where the required setback is 20 feet. A 16.8-foot variance is requested from Section 278-385B to make alterations to a cottage located 3.2 feet from the side yard lot line where the required setback is 20 feet. The subject property is 66,630 square feet in area, located at 132 Main Street, is in Residence District R80 and the Main Street Historic District. The project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SEQA.
So the Palladinos told me if I do well, Lenny, I'll be in the next series. You know who they are?
No.
The Netflix series, Mrs. Basil, what is it?
Ah,
So we want to welcome the Palladinos to our community. So they're going to take this property, which obviously Larry's very familiar with, and make it into basically a single-family residence and studios for their work. They're going to divide up the two cottages. One will be for Mr. Palladino, one will be for Mrs. Palladino. They're going to do a major renovation here. They're going to eliminate the non-conforming addition that violates the setback. They're going to make that conforming. There are going to be a lot of upgrades here that I think that are beneficial. It's a lovely piece of property. I've known the property when Hans Lowndes owned the property, and Chris Coy was at the office yesterday and told me it was his uncle's, I believe it was his uncle's property. There's a lot of history. Bob Hefner has looked at, because it's in the historical district, and signed off on the window treatment. Dan Butler, the architect, is here, and I thought if you had any questions, he certainly could answer your questions with respect to the renovation and what's proposed.
the cottage A, I guess it is, the smaller one, it said it's going to be made into a media.
Well, Mr.
that
Palladino's
right?
going to use it for his office,
Okay,
basically.
so the kitchen will stay in both
It
of
will
them.
remain, yes,
That's smart.
yes.
I think Larry, being the previous owner, we're
I
gonna
mean, I have no
listen to him.
problem. I'd just like to make a correction. When you say alterations to a cottage, 0.3 feet from the sideline, I assume you mean the garage. It's,
Could be, I don't have the survey.
I mean, that's just a
Probably, you're right.
technicality.
Yeah, I think you're right, you're right.
So, yeah.
3 inches.
Yeah, we're maintaining the,
3
we're
feet,
going to
well,
maintain, Larry, we're maintaining the, you know, the footprint
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're saying you're not asking for any more variances.
No.
But since it's pre-existing non-conforming, you have to get approval. And I think we love the property and we improved it, but I think you can make it great. And
Right.
so I have no
Well,
problem.
it's fortunate that it's just going to be a single-family home.
Yeah.
And
it
it's
is
going to be
actually
used, and I think
gorgeous.
it's going to enhance Main Street when they get done. It'll be very, very nice.
I think so, no-brainer. It's nice.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Anyone in the audience want to?
Anybody-
Yeah, sorry.
Nobody. Motion to close the hearing?
Second?
All in favor? And last but not least, David Andrew Trust, Revocable Trust, 27 Windmill Lane. Ms. Bennett.
Application of David Andrews of Revocable Trust, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-10112, area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to construct a 352-square-foot detached garage. Variances of 41.1 feet and 2 feet are requested from Section 278 3A5A and B to construct a detached garage 13.9 feet from the front yard lot line and 18 feet from the side yard lot line, where the required setbacks are 55 feet and 20 feet respectively. A variance from Section 278 3A5F is required to construct a garage in the front yard area where detached garages are prohibited within the front yard area. The garage is proposed to be located within the Windmill Lane right-of-way easement. The subject property is 40,036 square feet in area and is located at 27 Windmill Lane in Residence District R160. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SEQA.
Applicant present?
Yes, Christopher Kelly, Toomey Latham Shea, Kelly Dubin and Corderaro for the applicant. By the way, this board is amazingly efficient. The amount of stuff you got through in an hour, it's very impressive. This proposal is to construct a one-story, one-car garage, 13.9 feet from the front yard line and 18 feet from the side lot line. So I've submitted a memorandum of law going over how the application meets the criteria, but I want to spend some time talking about the uniqueness of the property and the situation here and some of the history of the neighborhood. First of all, the garage will be behind an opaque fence that's 6 feet in height, and I want to give you a rendering so you can see what that looks like. What that will look like.
Another one.
I'll share it with you.
Okay, never mind.
So this is a pre-existing lot. A subdivision was created from a property that at one time included the lot to the south on the ocean front.
I have my own, but it only went both ways.
So the house that's on this property is extremely modest in comparison to the houses surrounding it. It's it's an older house, and we're dealing with a layout where the Windmill Lane, which is unusual in this area, basically narrows down to the point at which it's a common driveway. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that so you understand, because it comes up as an issue in the citing here. I only have one copy. This is a survey done by David Sassons to show the road pavement of Windmill Lane and how it goes down from Further Lane to the south. And the issue here, and in all frankness, there's litigation ongoing about this in the neighborhood. But normally, you would consider, first of all, Windmill Lane is a right-of-way that's 50 feet wide, and it's not a separate road. What it is a 25-foot right-of-way across the lots of those who have lots on the east and those who have lots on the west. So in the best of all worlds, the paved or improved portion of Windmill Lane would stride that boundary line, the common boundary line, so that the burden of Windmill Lane was equally shared on both sides of the road. Windmill Lane is a lot smaller, you'll see if you've driven down there. It's not a 50-foot wide road. It's something,
Same as Weston Road?
it's like 15
The same thing, like?
feet. Yeah, it's
Similar, yeah.
Similar.
We have that application up there.
So in the best of all worlds, you'd have the neighbors on both sides of the road sharing the burden of that road, and it would be centered so that it wouldn't affect adversely one side or the other. Well, that is the case for a good portion of the road, but when you get to the trust property, the paved portion.
I think if you could go back to the
I will. I
Yeah.
just want to have this, if we can see that.
Yeah, also, can you submit this for the record?
Yes, that's for you.
That, one copy?
Yeah, we need.
Yes, I can get many more copies.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
Okay, I will get more copies. I will get one copy with me. So, the practical issue here is that the paved portion of Windmill Lane, as it comes to trust property, is completely on his property. So any structures he puts in his front yard, if a variance was granted, is going to be closer because the pavement is pushed onto his property. Now, the neighbor across Windmill Lane has essentially used the Windmill Lane, the entire Windmill Lane roadbed on their side, on the western side, for landscaping and their lawn and boulders and fences, and has basically used it as an expansion of their yard, and caused the Windmill Lane to be pushed, the physical part of Windmill Lane to be pushed to the east. So that creates a unique circumstance. If that was not the case here, we would be asking for a garage that's essentially 28 feet off of the pavement of Windmill Lane, rather than what we are asking for, which is 13.9 feet. The other things I wanted to point out to you are the history here of Windmill Lane, and the board has granted numerous variances to properties immediately adjacent to this property. So to the south, in 2015, you have the Schumann property, which some of you may remember, but there were numerous variances granted on that application. Some were denied, but many were granted.
Did we grant any in the road?
No. But you granted stuff in the dunes. And the other point of this was that those weren't variances where somebody came in and said, we want to do this, and we're applying for a variance if you let us do it. They came in for after-the-fact variances. Immediately to the north of the subject property, same situation now, in 2014.
Do you know that we can't look at submissions at the meeting itself? We needed a week.
I understand that. I assume that this will be put over.
Okay.
So under the name of Magliocco, the neighbor immediately to the south, the board was asked to grant variances for numerous previously constructed structures in the front yard. So it's the same type of variance. There was a bin, there was a pizza oven, there was numerous other structures which needed front yard and side yard variances. And this board gave variances for those structures that had been constructed without permits. Third variance involved actually a variance for a second garage. This was granted to Gene Clark in 1984. And this was for a garage that was 11 feet from the side lot line, just down the lot there. For those of you that have visited the site, you'll see that.
We've all visited.
Great. So Windmill Lane is a dead end, and you can see that what happens is after the pavement ends, it's picked up as a gravel road, but it's essentially a common driveway. So we're not dealing with the typical situation. This is not a roadway that's highly traversed at that end. It's a dead end. Also have an aerial photo to show you the relative modesty of the improvements on this property compared to those to the north and to the south. Now, there were several objections from neighbors that I want to address. First, the neighbor immediately across the way. I think the objection is kind of ironic that they mentioned in their letter that we're so close, it would appear that we're right on the road. Well, the reason we're right on the road is because they wouldn't allow any pavement of Windmill Lane to be on their property. As I mentioned earlier, we'd have an 18-foot additional setback if the road had been centered. Then we have the letter from the Stemmermans, whose property is further south by at least 2 lots, and I don't know quite what their objection is, since they wouldn't normally drive that far south to go past this. This is a picture of their 2-story, 2-car garage as it looks from the road. Aside from being, very much more substantial than the 1-car, 1-story garage that we're proposing, they have in fact appropriated their front yard in front of that for what is an illegal playing court. Under the code, having a playing court requires meeting accessory structure setbacks. So instead of having the required 55-foot setback, they have a mere 20 to 25-foot setback of that court. Yet they are objecting to this 1-story, 1-car garage that we're proposing. There was also a comment made about, in one of the documents, might have been Billy's memo, about the location of this within the right-of-way. And recently, in part of the litigation, there was a decision issued, and I will get the board a copy of the decision. Essentially, the court dismissed the claims by the neighbor to the south, which requested that the applicant here, Mr. Truss, remove his wall and fence from within the right-of-way, because the court said there's plenty of room to get in and out, and that's all that the neighbor to the south is entitled to. It doesn't matter if you put structures inside the right-of-way. So why are we putting this or proposing this garage to be where we're proposing, as opposed to somewhere farther back as suggested by one of the neighbors? You'll see if you look at the survey that we have the pool location is pre-existing. We also have a propane gas tank that's buried in the ground. There was concern raised about a large cedar tree, evergreen tree, that would have to be removed. That, in fact, was planted by Mr. Trust when he moved in and purchased the property some time ago. He is very cognizant of the need to landscape and shield the view as much as possible. The location farther back behind the pool for this garage would require removal of several cherry trees. So we believe that this location is not optimum, but it's preferable to other locations deeper into the lot. There's also an issue, this road, because it's a private road, doesn't get plowed. And Mr. Trust is one of the few neighbors that actually comes out here in the wintertime, and he was hopeful to have a place to pull in which would reduce the length of distance he had to plow, both on the road, and if he chose to do the road, which he sometimes does, and the driveway. So there are practical reasons why this is proposed where it is. It's crowded in that corner of the property, but there already is a service driveway there. You'll see also that the garage is screened from the property to the north because there is a driveway along the property line, and there's fencing on our side of that driveway and fencing and hedging on the other side of the driveway as well. So we believe in doing your weighing and balancing test that the impact on the neighborhood will not be significant. The benefit to the applicant weighs heavier than the detriment, if any, to the community here. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
What about the fact that there's another driveway up to the south? I mean, is there a conforming location to put the garage in over there?
No.
Why?
Well, you'd be jammed up here. You need to maintain 20 there. It would be and very, very jammed in there, and you'd still,
You could go here.
well, yeah, you could put it back here too, but putting it in the, in the middle of the backyard doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. There's already a driveway here that you wouldn't have to extend to put it there.
It's very tight, though. It's 18 feet to back up. I mean, I measured my own driveway, and I have a privet hedge there, so that if you do back into it, it doesn't hurt your car. But this is, you drive right against a fence. 18 feet is not very much for a turnaround. And you do have conforming locations.
I'd like to look at the information he's given us and look at the other variances we gave on the road. I just want to see what
Well-
we've done.
Yeah, and also, some of the things that you referred to, like the litigation, the case that you said you would submit, I'd like to see. Is this, you've enclosed a hydrant?
Fire hydrant?
You have a wall around the fire hydrant?
Yeah. So there's access
Do you
to
have your
it.
own personal fire hydrant?
No, it's so it doesn't interfere with the fire hydrant.
Is there access?
You see,
to
the
it?
fire hydrant's not located on not located on a public road, it's located on our property, on my client's property.
Okay. Is there anybody like to be heard? Yes? No, you have to go. And identify yourself, please, for the record.
I'm Jill Shearer. I'm here for my parents, Barbara and Paul Shearer, and they live at 20 Windmill Lane. And we're very concerned about the variance from the setback for the front yard line, and very concerned about the encroachment on the right-of-way easement. As far as the results from the other litigation, you'll have to plow through all that. But it just seems like a terrible precedent to set to allow other lots would then be overbuilding. It would allow them to build large houses and bring garages close to the street. So it's just a big concern.
Any questions for her? Thank you. Yes?
Hello again, Madeline Van John. I'm representing David and Jolene Stemmerman, who are at 16 Windmill Lane. I submitted a letter to the file last week, so I don't want to repeat everything, and we do, of course, want to look at everything that was submitted today. I know there have been some variances granted on the block, but there's never been a variance granted for someone to put something in the actual right-of-way, or even so close to the front yard. There's been a lot of reference to the fact that the pavement is where it is. That's not legally part of the easement as to how much can be covered by pavement or how much can't. The whole area is still a right-of-way, regardless of where the pavement happens to be. I'm not representing the neighbors immediately across, so I'm not sure what the situation is there with their landscaping, but if there's a concern between the two of them, I don't think that has anything to do with why this garage might need to be right there. I did submit a diagram with my letter just showing one possible area where it could be conforming. It's quite a large property with a lot of open space. It's clear there's many places where it could be. Where it is right now, it was mentioned that it's a dead end and not everyone drives down there, but some residents do still need to drive past this driveway, which essentially would be on the edge of the pavement in the right-of-way. And for other residents of Windmill Lane, there is pedestrian access through there to the beach. So it's not only used by the Schumann property that drives by here.
What about emergency vehicles? I have a question about that, too. How does a fire truck get back to that hydrant? That would be a question for you.
Sorry, that was another one of our concerns as well, is that it just doesn't seem prudent to allow a structure within a right-of-way for any reason, especially when there's so many other options for where to put it. And you mentioned as well that it does seem very tight in terms of backing up there. I'm not really sure how that's going to be useful for anyone other than possibly creating a traffic jam if people start parking behind the garage around it. And also, I mean, I'll have to take a look at the picture that was submitted regarding my client's property, but I don't think the fact that my clients have a garage on their property is really relevant to this. We don't object to this property having a garage, we just object to it being within the right-of-way immediately in the front yard.
Should we have the fire department weigh in on this? I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah, that would be up to you, I mean,
I think
you
you
could,
should.
Yeah, okay. Fire marshal. Would you like to weigh in on it now, or you want to do it next time?
Good morning, Ken Cullum, Village of East Hampton. I haven't really looked at the encumbering on the fire hydrant, but we can take a look this afternoon. There are state code requirements for the hydrant to have a certain footage clear around them, and also if it serves a subdivision, which sounds like it was a subdivision of past, there is a 25-foot wide by 50-foot in length, so a fire truck can park at the hydrant and additional apparatus can pass that to go past there. So there may be some encumbrances. I've also, just looking quickly, the wall does not seem to meet our definition of wall. It's over 3 feet in width and maybe 4 or 5 feet in height, so it would be a structure within the setback. So that also may be a violation of village code under zoning. So I'm not 100% sure. We would have, maybe this afternoon or Monday, we'll get out there and take a look at it, and we could put together something for the board for the next meeting.
Oh, good.
Okay?
Thank you for bringing it up. Yes. All right. Anybody else? Yes, could you come to the podium?
How you doing? My name is Josh. I'm representing Fred and Stephanie Schuman at 333 Windmill Lane at the very end of that. As far as, another structure being put there, they're not totally in favor of that because it is right on, the edge of that driveway or that road. Their biggest concern is the safety issue. They pass, through that, they'll pass, that garage, I guess, constantly. And with those rock structures already there, they're worried about blind spots, actually. So if a car comes out of that garage, they can't see already as far as, because it's going to be just a couple feet off that road. If the garage door happens to be open, let's say, and there's a small child in the backyard, and a small child happens to just run, through those garage doors, they'll be in the middle of the road, very quickly, and you wouldn't be able to see them because of, like you're talking about, with all these other structures that are there. So that is their biggest concern, but, as far as aesthetically, they leave that judgment up to you guys to conform with East Hampton Village.
Thank you. So, do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, you want to?
With respect to the wall, I don't believe it's 3 feet in width, but Ken certainly double check that, and I'm happy to hear what, he concludes about the fire hydrant. The issue here has been for the applicant that due to the landscaping that maintained by Jefferson over here, it's hard to get in and out of his driveway here to begin with, over at the other end of the house.
Are you talking about the main driveway or the accessory one?
The main driveway.
Uh-huh.
So that's always been an issue, and part of that issue is because we've been unable so far in the litigation to get either agreement or an order, and it's ongoing, to widen Windmill Lane down there so that you don't have that tightness issue. Any event, I'm happy to provide other information. I'll get you other copies of the road survey, other copies of the decision. Is there anything else I can provide the board?
And the litigation is ongoing?
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
it sounds like a civil problem. Sounds like a civil case issue.
But the dispute, the claims by Schuman about the width were dismissed by the court.
But you're talking about the neighbor across.
Now, neighbors to the south.
Yeah, but are
The
you in
neighbor across-
litigation across?
For us, that's litigation's ongoing.
Okay. All right, anybody else who'd like to be heard? If not, a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to close this hearing?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you.